She looks calm, almost detached. And then, in some clips, she even smiles. To a stranger scrolling online, it might seem like just another viral moment. But behind those unsettling courtroom expressions lies a crime so violent, it shocked an entire community. But here's the thing. This is the story of Isabella Guzman, and how a tragic case from 2013 resurfaced years later, in a way many people found deeply disturbing. Isabella Guzman grew up in Aurora, Colorado, living with her mother and stepfather. Her parents had separated when she was younger, but they remained on relatively stable terms. Her mother was known as a hard-working woman, often putting in long hours to support the family. On the surface, things looked functional. But here's the thing. Inside the home, the situation was far more complicated. People who knew Isabella described her as troubled from a young age. She wasn't failing in school, but she lacked motivation, and eventually dropped out just weeks before graduation, a decision that deeply disappointed her family. Tension at home only grew worse over time. Now, what happened next was things escalated after her mother remarried. Isabella reportedly struggled to accept her stepfather, and arguments became more frequent and more intense. At one point, her behavior became so difficult that she was sent to live with her biological father. But that arrangement didn't last, and she eventually moved back in with her mother. By early 2013, the situation had reached a breaking point. At that moment, there were reports of aggressive behavior, including a confrontation, where Isabella yelled at and even spat on her mother. Shortly after, her mother received a disturbing message from her, a warning that suggested things were about to get worse. Soon after that, concerned for their safety, her parents contacted the police. Officers spoke with Isabella and warned her that, now that she was 18, she could legally be forced to leave the home. It was a moment that could have changed everything. But it didn't. And that's when. The next day seemed ordinary, at least at first. That evening, Isabella stayed in her room for hours. Around 9:30 p.m., her mother returned home from work and went upstairs to shower. Her stepfather remained downstairs. Then suddenly, the quiet was broken. Loud noises. Struggling. A cry for help. When he ran upstairs, he found Isabella in the bathroom with her mother, and then, the door was slammed shut. Locked. What followed was chaos. He called emergency services, as blood began to seep from under the door. Inside, the attack had already turned fatal. When the door finally opened, Isabella walked out, covered in blood, holding a knife, and left the house without saying a word. Her mother had been stabbed 79 times. Isabella disappeared into the night, triggering a search. She was found the following day in a parking garage, and taken into custody. Given the severity of the crime, she was charged with first-degree murder, and faced the possibility of the death penalty. But the case took an unexpected turn. During psychological evaluation, doctors diagnosed her with schizophrenia, a severe mental disorder that can cause hallucinations and delusions. According to expert testimony, Isabella believed she was not killing her mother, but someone else entirely, someone she thought she needed to eliminate to save the world. Because of this, the court accepted a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, a rare outcome. Instead of prison, she was committed to a psychiatric institution for treatment. And this is where it gets interesting. For years, the case remained largely out of the spotlight. Until social media brought it back. What happened next changed everything. Clips from Isabella's courtroom appearances began circulating on platforms like TikTok. In these videos, users focused on her facial expressions and behavior during the trial, often pairing them with music and editing them for entertainment. Some even used the song "Sweet But Psycho" by Ava Max, creating a trend that blurred the line between fascination and insensitivity. This sparked intense debate online. Some viewers treated it as harmless content. Others saw it as deeply inappropriate, pointing out that it trivialized both a brutal murder and a serious mental illness. You might be wondering, why are real tragedies turned into trends? Here's what most people don't know. Where should the line be drawn between curiosity and exploitation? It's one thing to analyze a case. It's another to turn it into entertainment. In this situation, both the victim's story and the reality of mental illness is being risked overshadowed by viral clips and online commentary. Since being institutionalized, Isabella has remained largely out of the public eye. In a later interview, she claimed that After years of treatment, she feels stable and no longer a danger. She even expressed a desire to return to society. However, decisions like that involve careful legal and medical review, and as of now, there's no clear timeline for what comes next. This case is difficult to process, not just because of what happened, but because of how it's been remembered. It's a reminder that, behind every viral video is a real story, often with real victims and lasting consequences. And sometimes, what spreads the fastest online isn't the truth, but the version people are most willing to watch. What do you think about cases like this becoming social media trends? Think about it. Where should the line be drawn? Imagine this. Let me know your thoughts below.